10 Pros. Yeah, I actually wanted this Audio Technica set, but they ran out. Look at that nipple. Look at my nipple and fear me. Oh, I'll pull it out. Oh, don't be getting dirty. Don't be getting dirty in here.
I want to welcome you guys to episode 4 of In the Hot Tub with Chef Buggrub with the one and only Shadon, everybody. Give Shadon a round of applause. How's it going, sir? How you doing today?
It's going great. How are you today?
Going good. Can you guys hear him all right? Let's just make sure, but I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
We may have to restart the interview. No, I'm just kidding. I think you're good. I think you're good.
Yeah. No, I probably should have used the other camera. You're probably right about that.
No, this looks good. This looks great. You look fantastic. You look beautiful.
I don't look as good as you though. I mean, look at you.
No, it's okay. I'm a cartoon, dude. It's hard for people to look as good as me. You know what I mean? I'm digitally designed to look this beautiful. You know, not everybody is graced by having somebody design them like me. You know, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I agree with that.
So Shay, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for the people who don't know who you are?
All right. I'm Shay. Online I go by Shadon because it's very difficult to get Shay as a name. And also it was not originally Shadon. It was Shady1, and then it was Shady1, and now it's Shadon. So I stream on Kick mostly. I do also make YouTube videos when I'm bored, and I just happy to be here. You've
actually kind of collected a pretty big subscriber following on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I had one video blow up. So
okay, what was that video about?
It was actually a DayZ video. So I got gifted a couple hundred subs to kill someone who had a character that was about 12 to 14 days old. So somebody I was playing with, a good friend of mine.
How many subs do you have on YouTube? Like just off the top of your head.
Should be 9,400 and something.
That's pretty good, man. That's a good accomplishment. Congratulations.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I worked hard for a while there, and I haven't worked hard in a while, but we're gonna get back to it. I can guarantee you that.
Awesome, bro. Awesome. So let me we'll just kind of set the groundwork here. So what kind of made you want to get into streaming? What was kind of the whole story behind that?
So I had been I think everyone tries at some point. So I had tried, I would say, quite a few years ago, and to some success before catching a ban for some UFC fights. And I had stopped for a while, but I was playing a lot of GTARP. I wasn't streaming it or anything like that. And I had a buddy that was in the server with me, and he was like, hey man, why don't you just go live? And at the time, Facebook gaming was the it spot. So I went live over there on Facebook and managed to actually garner a following and some viewers. And to no one's surprise, because I think every human being likes attention, I liked it. So I was pretty excited for people to want to see me play a game I was already playing. So that's where it all began.
What was like the average of viewership you were gaining on Facebook gaming? Would you say?
I would say between 9 and 15. So
9 and 15 viewers. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe explain to me a little bit about Facebook gaming, because like I've heard so many people talk about it, but especially a lot of Kick people. I feel like a lot of Kick people came from Facebook gaming, but I've never watched a stream on Facebook gaming. I don't really know what it's about. Like, what was kind of the whole allure to it, do you think?
Well, at the time I was banned on Twitch, so that was part of it.
For streaming
the other
UFC
thing was
fights?
like, yeah. So Trovo on Twitch, yeah. So Trovo was the other option, and a lot of people in the server I was in were on Facebook gaming.
Yeah. And
so it was easy. You know, they had a Facebook page as well. It was really easy to advertise on that page that, hey, I'm in the city as well, and I'm live. I'd love for you to come see my perspective. And the other thing that helped was just being a cop in roleplay. Every criminal wants to know, when you're after them. It's called metagaming, but they're not gonna tell you they're in there. But somehow or another, I have 20 people and only 3 of them are talking. So that's kind of how that happens in roleplay. I'm sure you're probably pretty aware of it.
I'm very aware of it. I dealt with a bad situation with metagaming. You wouldn't think that like a judge would deal with it, but because I did GTARP as well. We played on the same server for a little bit. but you know, you wouldn't think a judge would deal with that much, but I did deal with that with people coming into my chat and trying to convince me to like sway a certain way on cases and things like that. And dude, it was so frustrating because, like, you know, I'm the kind of person where, you know, I'm not gonna like just like pick a side, you know what I mean, when it comes to like judge RP. Like I approach judge RP and lawyer RP in the aspect of like, you know, you're kind of controlling the RP for the other people, so how can you make this like the most interesting thing as possible? So my goal was always to like make it an interesting thing, and I felt like it was hard for the viewers to understand that, because they wanted to see their criminal win or something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's still a very selfless way to look at it, because a lot of what I look at in role play is the story that I'm creating, which is a very selfish way to look at it, right? But as a judge or a police officer, you have to consider what other people are dealing with, especially in role play. Because my whole goal has always been to have a character that is interesting and does interesting things, but sometimes you can't be the center of attention, right?
Yeah.
And that's where a judge, like being a judge, would be something I would never be able to do, because, and even being a cop, I struggle with it, kind of handing the floor over if I'm part of a scene, because I like to have eccentric characters. Most of my characters are, you know, wildly inappropriate, you know, gay, or, you know, just something that's very far from what I am. And it's fun to do that. If anyone's if you've never done role play, do the farthest from yourself that you can. It's a lot of fun and it's a big challenge. So handing that over and being selfless in a role play scenario is very difficult, because it'd be easy to, as a judge, if the server allows it, for you to let people manipulate you for a story, right?
Yeah.
To get be a part of something bigger than you, so that you can intertwine yourself in that community. It's very difficult not to do that in role play. You kind of, you see people who are really good at it, and you're like, I want to stick my foot in that door and like squeeze my way into that. But sticking to yourself and sticking to what you do in role play is very hard to do. But if you can do it, it's kind of a very good feeling.
I always said in my streams that lawyer RP is like the most OP class that you could pick when it comes to RP in any sense, because you're pretty much like controlling other people's stories in a way, you know, because what is the main thing that you deal with in GTARP? It's crimes. It's, you know, breaking laws and things like that, and you're the one that's in charge of pretty much dictating how the rest of their story goes, you know, if somebody's getting the nines or not. So it's, you know, it's kind of interesting, you know. I've always approached RP in the way of like, how can I make sure, because I look at it from like a content creator perspective of like, you know, like I know like you're streaming, right, and we have an interaction. Like, how can I make this interaction the best for your viewers as well as mine? Because like I don't want to be that guy that's just like a mooch of RP, you know. So I always tried to make every situation very entertaining for people, and that was a big reason why I started the Dungeon Master character. That was literally I started that after I finished my Chef Buggrub story. I started that as a version of like a character that is completely selfless, and that is just providing RP for people, because I think a lot of people, especially on the server we were on, I think a lot of people didn't know how to RP properly. So I want, and like, not that I'm like an amazing RPer or I've been in the game for so long, but I just wanted to give people the opportunity to do something different than just doing construction jobs, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, and there's a different playing field, right? So, and this is something that I'll like, playing a lawyer, it's particularly a lawyer, you've got to go out and make role play. You don't have, there is no slot that a lawyer fits into in RP, right? Because you know, a cop is probably, and this is going to be pretty controversial for anybody who role plays, is probably the safest bet if you're going into a role play server.
Yeah.
Because you can find content almost instantly. The second you fly into a city, if you're trained, obviously the training process is content. right? Learning, becoming a cop. That's all content. Then once you're trained and you're on your own, it's very, very easy. Hop in a car, find a group of people. You know, you have a reason to interact with them already. You're a police officer. You know, I wouldn't say it's forcing a situation, but as a cop, you can force role play into a situation without being asked. And some people don't appreciate that because some cops are definitely a little less gracious or grace. Yeah, I think that's the right word.
Well, I think a lot of the problem, just earlier, I was trying to show it on stream actually, because we were kind of like watching a video, the owner of Prodigy talking about RP and how it's in such a bad state right now, and how people just kind of want to circle jerk with their friends and all of that. And I saw another video that came up on my feed on TikTok of like, I forget which streamer it was, but he was talking about how pretty much a lot of people who become police officers in RP, specifically talking about like Prodigy and NoPixel and all of that, what they'll do is like they become a cop because they can't get prio as a crim because they're not interesting people. They don't have any creativity. They don't have any idea of storytelling. So what they do is they say they do the crim stuff for like 2 months, and they're like, I'll make a cop character. They make a cop character. They put in the time. They get promoted up because they're putting in the time. But they're still like really bad role players. They're shit role players, but they get promoted and things like that.
Yeah, and you don't have to. That's kind of the problem. You don't have to be good,
and
right?
the joke and the punchline of it is that they end up getting 200 viewers a stream, and then they end up becoming full-time Twitch streamers with no personality.
No, I mean I agree with you because a cop it's easy to cop out. A lot of big problems right now. A lot of servers don't do merit-based prio, and you can buy your way in through TabX. You can buy your prio. And that's tough. So I can see where people want to come in as a cop to get their prio. But you're right. Being a good cop on a roleplay server will get you higher and higher in the ranks, which will get you more notable. But you don't have to have any personality. You don't have to have any character traits.
Yeah.
You don't have to have anything to you. You just have to be a good cop. But, you know, my goal was to never get promoted, particularly in one of my more infamous characters, Lubricant. My goal was simply to make people uncomfortable, say out of pocket things, but kind of toe a line. Like you don't want to be inappropriate. You don't want to be, you don't want to do anything that would change someone's role play. And then in the server I was in, at one point we were allowed to be corrupt, and I was able to intermingle with the cartel. I mean, it was just there's a lot of things you can do with a cop that has a personality. If the cop has no personality and you're forced into a role play situation, you end up either shooting or getting shot, and then it turns into a ticket, and it turns into drama, and that's what happens. And to circle back to the circle jerk comment, that was always I would ride around in a city with 110 people in my cop car and find nobody. I mean, from top to bottom,
where are they?
Nobody. They're in some asset that they paid money for to the server owner, having some meeting with all their best friends, circle jerking, listening to music, doing whatever they're doing. That's where they are. And so my whole problem with those servers is where's the role play? What was the point in this server? If you just want to hang out with your friends, you can do that in a Discord server. You don't have to have, a character you run around with and do stuff with. So I think that's a commonality between, that what we're talking about is having no personality is not good for role play. Yeah. And you funnel that in when you just want population, like a new city pops up or somebody from an old city starts a new city and they're just trying to get people in there. Yeah. Oh, I got 70 people in my server.
Have you ever dove into Red Dead Redemption RP?
So you're about the 100th person to ask me. No, I haven't.
I think you should.
I've been struggling with role play lately. Yeah. I kind of quit full time in role play back in December, and I've fallen pretty dull. Like I've lost a lot of personality, and I've lost a lot of personality in streaming too.
Do you think you still enjoy it like the same way you used to? Or?
Yeah, but it's like a once in a blue moon thing. I pop in and I have a great night, and I really love it. And then I pop in and I have a rough night, and I'm like, I remember why I don't do this anymore.
So that's why I suggest like Red Dead RP to people. Because I think that Red Dead RP is it's more of a slow burn kind of storytelling, but it forces people to play a character, because you can't just be yourself. You have to kind of be this character. It's not that you have to do an accent, but like you're kind of forced in a position of like, you know, I'm from the 1800s, and that's my character. I have to think like I'm from the 1800s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're forced into creativity, and that's what I loved about early role play. I don't know how long you've been role playing, but I've been role playing for probably since 17,
Yeah,
2016,
for me, it's
2017.
not that long. It's not that long.
So when early on, and I even role played in Arma 3, early on there wasn't assets, right? There was no assets. So almost everything you did had to be faked or role played, right? So if there's a, you know, slash me's were real big back then. I mean, there was no assets. You know what I mean? You didn't have a way to cook something. You didn't have a job you can go do with animations. You had to pretend everything. It was all just about creating a story and making, I can't even say content, because I didn't even do it. I didn't even stream it half the time, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the difference between then and now for me. Is the assets are wonderful for the role-playing community, but it really just gives a crutch to people who have no, and I'm not saying I'm good at role-play, I'm just saying, but people who have no idea how to role-play don't really have to. They have assets that role-play for them, right? They have a grill at their taco stand. They have a taco stand, first of all. That's something that people overlook. I mean, years ago, there wasn't assets like that for you to walk into and to do things in. You had to use what was already in the game. And now people have a lot of that stuff. So
yeah,
it's kind of a handicap.
It used to have to use more of your imagination and stuff, and you know, it kind of followed that whole old school version of RP with like Dungeons and Dragons, and like how you leave things up to chance and things like that. That was one of the big things that I enjoyed about Purple RP, which is now unscripted, playing in that server, was the fact that a lot of people use the slash roll, and it would force your RP to kind of go to chance. It wouldn't, you know, like I saw an example of like a video. I forget what it was I was watching, but Crim went up to a cop, and the Crim was like talking to him and stuff, and then the Crim was like, did like a slash me of like tries to reach for the gun, and then he rolled. And then he was like, come on, you got to do it. And then the cop lost the roll, and he had to give him the gun and stuff. So I thought that was really funny, because it was like, you know, it makes for more exciting opportunity where you're not always on top. Like, that's not the point of it, is you being always on top. You know, it's about development and storytelling and stuff.
Yeah, win, lose RP is just not RP. Like, and you brought up a good point, the slash me's and the creativity. A lot of people just get really upset now when the story doesn't follow their narrative.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that was always the point. The point was something's going to happen that you're not in control of, and how you're able to improvise, or how you're able to manipulate that situation, to how that situation, I guess, changes your own character, or changes your own, like your own scene, right? That's what made a good role player in my mind. Well, how'd you roll off of that scenario? Like, someone threw a curveball at you. Your narrative's no longer the narrative that was there. Everything has changed. How are you going to bounce off of that? That was always a big, like, ticket to me. Like, okay, this is who's good at role play. This guy handled this with class. This guy handled this like it wasn't even a thing. It was like it was real life. Like, because how do you handle a situation in real life? If you don't know, you go out during the day and something happens to you that you're not expecting, how do you handle that, right? And when you can do that in role play, and like just roll it with the punches, I guess improv kind of plays a big role in it. But when you can do that, that shows.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. It is improv. It's 100% improv, and just being quick thinking. And I think a lot of people, they get into it because they see a streamer or YouTube video or whatever. They think it looks like fun, but they don't think of it like in that aspect of like, I'm playing a character, I'm trying to add to a story or anything like that.
Yeah,
they sit against a wall.
Well, yeah, and then the meta, that brings up metagaming, right? To compensate for people's lack of, I'm not gonna say creativity, but lack of understanding of role play. they'll want to contribute to someone else's, and it leads a lot to metagaming. And people always look at the negative side of metagaming, which is, you know, for their own benefit. But some people will metagame to try and like be a part of something they're not already a part of, and that happens way more.
Yeah, they like leech on to other people.
Exactly. Like, how are you aware? How are you going to come into the situation and say things that are precisely what I want to hear, right? How are you going to come into the situation and know something about a situation? And like, they won't say it outright. They'll just be so vague, like, oh yeah, I know, you know,
yeah,
let's go do this thing, you know, I know this place. And I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? You know? And it's really hard for someone who's trying to role play genuinely to tell someone, or to sit there and say, I don't know what you're talking about. Right.
Yeah.
Because your character knows what you're talking about. Your stream knows what you're talking about, but you know, and he knows what or he or she knows what you're talking about, but they don't know that you know what you're talking. You know what I'm saying? It gets really, really convoluted.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've dealt with that way too much. Yeah. With the court stuff, dude. Like, that was the one thing, is like being a lawyer and a judge, like, you know, having backroom conversations with people. And it's like, you don't know who's listening in on those conversations as a streamer. You know, it's just kind of like disheartening, because you're like, I want to do this like right without any interference, but you never know what sort of interference is going on.
Well, and it kind of proves why a lot of people, I don't know if you watched a lot of No Pixel, like the original No Pixel, but like African Snowball and a lot of those judges that were in the OG No Pixel rooms, they would just flat out mute everything when they were doing stuff and just ignore their stream. They would ignore their streams, which it's hard for us to do as a streamer that doesn't get crazy numbers. It's hard for me to ignore people when they come in, right?
Yeah, because you're trying to grow that audience.
Exactly. But they would just flat out mute and ignore while they were handling a situation, and then they'd unmute when they came to the bench to handle it. And I used to get so frustrated because I was like, man, I really want to know what's going on. That's why I'm following him, because he's the, you know, I'm not going to go to this other chat and tell him what's going on. I'm watching him because I want to know his perspective.
Yeah.
Well, I don't get to see his perspective just because other people in that server would metagame, or other chats would come into my chat, or vice versa, because it would happen a lot in police scenes when we were trying to discuss with a lawyer. My chat would jump from 20 to 60 or 70 people when I was dealing with certain people in that server, right? Yeah. So, you know, you're dealing with a high profile guy in that server. Why would, there's no explanation why I would go from 15 to 90 people in like a matter of 10 minutes.
Are you view botting?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, the view bot is arresting the wrong person on a RP server is what that is. And then you get accused.
You got the bad RP view bot.
Exactly. Well, and then the same thing happens if you arrest them more than once in a week. They're like, oh, you're just doing this for views now. And I'm like, what? What do you? He's literally shooting someone in the face. What do you mean? I'm I'm trying to arrest the guy for breaking the quote unquote law. So, but it does happen in other games as well. So
I kind of want to just talk about, because you mentioned like kind of the burnout and the creativity and things like that. What is the how do you feel like your creativity has kind of dwindled? Like, maybe explain that a little bit.
I think a lot of factors may have played into it. It's something I'm still battling, like, internally. So it's something that I've got to hang on one sec.
Oh, I believe he's talking to children. That's okay. It's okay. Hey guys, it's me, Chef Buggrub. I'm narrating for Shadon.
Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no, you're good.
My bad. I yelled on my stream, so I forgot to mute that part. I do. I have 2 kids. I have 2 boys.
Okay. So. I kind of want to talk about we'll talk about family and stuff a little bit later.
Yeah. No, the creativity. It's something I still struggle with. And I think a lot of roles. I'm still trying to figure it out. Things that played into it would have been. Let's talk about stuff outside of streaming that probably played into it. Just physical exhaustion. So working a lot, and just kind of trying to figure out what balance is. You know, my wife, for instance, she works night shifts, so there's a lot of imbalance. And that's about the time when I started to burn out on streaming at the same time. So a lot of these things probably go hand in hand. But the other part of it is in streaming the ups and downs, right? especially when things are up and you start putting a lot of effort, time, and creativity into it. You create a million scenes, you create so many cool effects, you create all these different scheduled streams you're having, and like people are showing up and we're having a blast and everything. And then, you don't have control over people. So when they stop showing up, or the numbers start to dwindle, everyone, it's always the cliche, don't look at your numbers, don't look at your numbers.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest about that. It's not easy to talk to nobody. And if it is easy, it's hard to like acknowledge that there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's a pretty human thing to feel. And then when it comes to creativity, when you stop having fun, I think the creativity kind of falls off, right? When the fun's gone, the creativity's gone. So just a combination of things can lead to it in any person's life. But outside factors definitely play a huge role in it, right? Just physical exhaustion, working a lot. I run a business, so things can take their toll on you.
Yeah.
So.
No, I get it. And that's kind of like the reason, like for me, like I've kind of reworked my whole show, right? Was because I felt like I was in a position where I was producing really good content, but maybe I wasn't doing it to the level that could kind of propel me forward. That's why I stopped doing RP. That's why I stopped doing all that stuff. I did the rebrand, all of that stuff, because I kind of wanted to create something where even if I didn't have any viewers, I could still be stoked about doing it. You know what I mean? Which I think is that's the hard part for a lot of people, is like, you're looking for that feedback, that feedback that's right there and immediate, but it's like you kind of gotta look at the big picture of like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? What is the brand that you're building and things like that? Because the viewers, they come and they go, but it's like, are you gonna be fun to watch even if there's no viewers or if there's a bunch of viewers? So that's like, for me, that's kind of the main thing I'm trying to focus on, is like being an entertaining person, whether or not I have viewers. Because like, for example, like for me, dude, like when I did RP and I was in the peak of my lawyering stuff, like my views were a lot higher than they are now. I've definitely fallen off in terms of streaming, but I think that what I'm doing now is like more, I guess, like mentally and like spiritually fulfilling, I guess you could say.
Maybe a higher quality of content.
Yeah, I think it's just more put together. It's a better show. Like, and like that's the way I try to approach it, is like a show. You know what I mean? Like what is the show for today, and try to think of it like episodes and things like that. That's just me.
Yeah, because it's hard to get in that mindset when you see other people just doing their thing and making it, And it's hard.
Yeah, no, dude, trust me, I totally get it. And you and I are both like, like I was born on Kick. Like my stream was born on Kick, but I don't consider myself a Kick streamer. Because I just don't believe in like brand loyalty like that. Like I don't consider myself a Twitch streamer. I don't consider myself a Kick streamer. I don't consider myself a YouTuber. Like I just consider myself like a creator. Like I just create stuff. I put it out into the ether, and if you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. Because I've just seen it too much with Kick, and I'm sure you have too, with like the brand loyalty and people ride or die, Kick fam, and all of that. And it's like, in my opinion, it's like, why are you're not getting paid by this company? Why are you putting so much into just that one company? Like, why are you putting all your eggs in that basket?
Yeah, and that is a tough one, because especially if you build a bigger audience, like Kick definitely took off a lot faster than Facebook or even Twitch, but you see the loyalty being a problem on the front. Exactly. They definitely, they help people who are loyal to them, but a lot of that's very inflated. And I was going to ask you, what do you do when you say you put out content just for, just out there in the ethos? what do you do when you don't want to, or you just can't muster it? Like, cause this is where I hit a roadblock. Like I haven't put a YouTube video out in probably a month. Right.
Yeah.
And I have probably enough content to drop a new video every week for the next 3 months. What do you do? Because I feel like if I try to start editing this stuff or putting this content out there, then because I'm not excited about it, it's not going to be good, right? The quality is going to be poor because my energy level towards it is going to be poor. So how do you overcome that? And if you can't, do you just not post? Do you just not?
I mean, for me, it's like, I don't know. Like I'm not trying to friggin' sniff my own ass here, but like for me, like I've been like making stuff for a long time, like even before streaming and all of that, because like I've played in bands, I've played in like I've done all of that stuff with music and playing shows and all of that. Like I realize like it's always like, you know, any moment that I had to myself where like I wasn't playing a video game or just like screwing off was spent working on music, right? Like writing a new song, writing something, and it came down to writing music about things that I like and I care about, or how I'm feeling about that, right? I think content creation is kind of the same way. It's like for me, the biggest thing that I've been doing that's made my life a lot easier is like preparing my show. Like I've been preparing things I want to talk about, preparing things that I want to do, things that I want to, you know, of things that I want to cover on the show, having it all kind of scripted out ahead of time, and not streaming every day too. Like I stream 3 days a week, sometimes more. Like I'll do a weekend stream every once in a while, but just doing those 3 days. And then I prepare the show, so I have a day to prepare what I want to prepare whatever scenes I want to prepare, whatever like pictures I need, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And it's made me, I think, more creative because I've established a sort of a structure to like how I want the show to be, and that's made it easier for me to continue creating. I think the problem with RP and GTARP specifically is it's a lot of you know, waiting around, like what are we doing, where are we going, you know what I mean? And then like what do you do in those lull moments to make the stream exciting, which I don't like. I've never liked that. I've never liked lull moments in my streams. I've always wanted them, especially through RP, like I've always wanted them to be like, I wanted something happening all the time. So
it's
it made
challenge. It's a challenge.
It's a challenge with RP because you're relying on other people. So what do? You have to go back to yourself. You have to focus on like what is working for yourself. What are the things you like to do? What are the things that entertain you? What are the things that you like that you want to talk about? And how are you going to express those on your platform? You know what I mean? Like,
well, and I mean, and that brings it to you being a true creative too, right? Like this is an outlet for me, whereas you're creating all the time, right? So, and I think that's a problem with a lot of the streaming space is it's an outlet for people's creativity, but they're not creators. Like they're not constantly creating. That's not what they do with their life. And I don't even know how to segue that in, but being a true creator in a role play scenario, it's very difficult to have dead space, right? And what I would do a lot, you talked about structure and planning things. That's at the height of my success when I was the happiest, was a 3-day-a-week on time stream, and it was scheduled, and everything I was doing was scheduled. I knew what I was doing ahead of time. The people who watched me knew what I was doing ahead of time. And in those breaks, and it's hard, you don't get many breaks as a cop in a good server, like a good roleplay server. In those breaks, I had things. We had dance breaks. Stuff that I would never do now. I just don't have the physical energy to do them. Different redemptions, things like that. I don't even have part of my stream anymore. To kind of clear that dead space. But again, that's relying on your chat. And that's another issue with streaming space and creativity is if you're not a gamer like me, I don't consider myself a gamer, right? I don't play a lot of games.
Yeah.
If I do, the games are simply creative outlets. So they're like RP, or they're there simply to make a content. Like if I go into Rainbow Six Siege, I'm there to make low light content. Like just have funny situations happen to me. Same thing with any game I play. If it's funny, it's content, I'm having fun. But I'm not a gamer. I'm not playing WoW. I'm not playing Call of Duty.
WoW.
I'm not out here, you know. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying I'm not that kind of gamer, right? So in that dead space, I have to rely on my chat to make myself entertaining. And that would be probably like the biggest difference between you and I is I think I look at you as a very creative person, period. I'm creative adjacent, right? Like this is an outlet of creativity, but I do heavily rely on interaction because I'm a talker. So,
well, I think, honestly, dude, I think what it comes down to is like, you know, like you make YouTube videos, so you probably understand this, but like I try to approach the streams as if I'm making a YouTube video where, you know, that's like I'm appealing to an audience that may be watching this afterwards, especially lately, because I know my Twitch chat might laugh at me for saying this, but it's like the question is like, are you somebody that's playing a game and streaming, or are you somebody that's trying to bring like excitement and adventure or anything like that to the game? You know, like what are you adding to the game to make it more of an exciting element for people that want to watch you? That's, I think, the hard part that like a lot of people don't understand. And it wasn't until like I really heard that like I had somebody tell me that I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Like, you know, because I'm the same way, dude. Like I'm not like a big gamer, like at all. Like you know, when I started streaming, I would play a lot of games, but it's not like I like care that much about gaming. I'm more of like, I like entertaining. I like being an entertainer. I like making something that's like unique. You know, so it's like, for me, like, I think a lot of people need to establish their goals, first of all, like where they want to go with streaming or content creation and all of that. Like, where do you want to be as that person? What do you consider successful? Because like for me, like ultimately, like I would love for this to be my full-time job. I would love to do the Chef Buggrub show, you know, 3 days a week, make enough money off of it to support my family, maybe make more that I can do other creative avenues. You know what I mean? Like if I didn't have to go to work, I could spend so much more time on the Chef Buggrub show. I could spend so much more time working on cartoons, working on whatever it is, you know, but like I have to go to work. I have to provide for my family. You get that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
well,
so
is that something that you're certain of, right? You're certain that if you could do it for a living, you would. Right?
If I could, I would. And
that's what people need to, I think, to your point, a lot of streamers need to ask themselves that, the ones who are trying to make it. Like, if you could do this for a living, like really be practical in your own brain, would you? Right? Would you do it? Because when you have a week off from work, when you're on vacation, are you doing it?
Yeah.
And a lot of them will say no, right? They because would I do this? Would I work hard? Would I make content if I could do this for a living? I would dang sure try, but I don't know if I would make it, right? Like I don't know if I could. And I had someone tell me one time, it was a bigger streamer, I was in their chat, and I don't necessarily believe it to the fullest. And I'm gonna let you get back to your point. Apologies.
No, you're good.
He said there's two types of streamers that play video games. There's the type that is really, really good at video games, and that's why people are there. And then there's the type that's really, really fun to watch play video games. And sometimes they're one and the same, but like Shroud's a good example. Like that dude is one of the best first-person shooters like you're ever gonna see.
Yeah.
But he is one of the least entertaining personalities.
As dull as doorknob.
Dude is not someone, like I can watch him play certain games that I like. So if I like Rainbow Six Siege, I can watch him play Siege. But if he's playing Valorant, I have no interest in watching him, right? Whereas on the other end of that, you have Tim the Tap Man, and he's better at video games than I am by far. But he can play pretty much anything, and I'll watch it. So, and that's kind of like, I think that would be, that kind of always stuck with me, is like you're either going to be really one of the best at that video game and you'll get viewers, or you've got to be really fun to watch playing that video game to get viewers.
I mean, you know, look at the doc, dude. Love him or hate him, you know, like the man knows how to entertain. You know, he doesn't even need to be good at the game that he's playing. It's more of the persona of him being like, I'm good at the game, so like I'm I'm the best, and he kind of feeds into that, you know what I mean? He puts on a show, and he was a big inspiration for me. I don't really watch him, but like just the idea of like what he did.
I mean, it don't matter. I mean, I watch him sometimes.
What he did, like you're right, it doesn't matter, but like I wouldn't consider myself a Dr. Disrespect fan, you know what I mean? But like the things that he did, like I would watch stuff of like highlights and things, and like just to see like how he put on a show, I thought it was very like mesmerizing. I was like, wow, like this is cool. And like that's how like originally like I tried to approach the stream of like I want to do creative things.
Well, just effort.
Effort is huge, dude, and I think a lot of people don't put in effort. And I think a problem is that like I hate that I kind of end up talking about this every stream, every Hottub interview, but like the follow for follows and tab for tabs that we see so prevalent on Kick, right? We don't have to go into it super crazy unless there's something you want to add to it. But
I mean, I think early on a lot of people fall victim to that level of support.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I did, and I will admit it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and it's hard not to want to be in a group of people that quote unquote support you. The hard part is like the part that no one sees is are they supporting you, or are they trying to support themselves? That's the problem with support groups.
Yeah.
Are they there to support you, or are they just there to support themselves? Because a tab is great, but a chatter will change your day. Like what they say in your chat, the type of conversation you have with your chat, it will make you feel really good. Having a high number on there and nobody saying anything is not, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with I love lurkers. Like, dude, I never want that to be misconstrued, but the follow for follow thing and then the tab for tab thing is just not the beast that people think it is.
Well,
right.
The thing I wanted to say about that was that I think it lulls people into this sense of like, I don't need to be entertaining. I don't need to put on a show for people. I can just sit there and I can, tab people up, and that is my, and people are going to show up for me for my content. And it gives this whole sense of like, I'm a successful streamer. I have 100 viewers, but like, do you really have 100 viewers? Like, do you really have 100 people that are sitting there watching you right now? Or do you just have like pretty much human bots that have a tab open on their computer?
Yeah. Well, and it's a hard conversation to have because there are some really, really good people that are live right now that are that situation, right? Like and that they feel it in the back of their head, right? Like you have to know that. Like they have to go, man, why is nobody chatting? Because I do that when if I have 10 people and nobody chatting, I'm like, oh, I mean, am I doing something wrong? You know what I mean? So and I don't want to be doing anything wrong. But there's some people who are really genuine, like good-hearted people, and they're hitting their goals and stuff, but you can't have that conversation with them, like, because you don't want it to bring them down. Like you're like, are they really chatters? I'm not, like, I'm in no place to ask them that, right?
Yeah. And and that's why like I've kind of like eased up on a lot of this like tab for tab, follow for follow, because it's like, if like I can't fight it, you know what I mean? Like if people want to do this, they're gonna do that, and especially on Kick, like I like Kick. I like it for what it's given me, the opportunities it gave me to kind of invent my show in an aspect and make some money off of it. But I can't fight the things. If they feel like it's not an issue in the higher ups, that's on them. I don't agree with it. I don't have to agree with it, but that's, like you see it, dude. You see it on Twitter, dude. Every other day somebody's getting verified and you're like, who the fuck is this person? Yeah,
no, I mean, I agree. I mean, it also goes back to the follow thing. A lot of these names I've seen before, right?
Yeah.
And I would never go and insult anybody, but a lot of them are just plain boring. And hell, I mean, sometimes I'm plain boring, right? And then those are times when I really need to not be streaming, because if I'm plain boring and I still have 9 or 10 people, then what is the motivation I mean, obviously you want to do better, but what is the motivation? Not for me, but for someone else. Like you said, they got 100 people in there and they're doing nothing. Why would they do anything? Right.
Yeah.
And the effort is the other thing. What I think this goes back to our original conversation of what stifled my creativity. And I can tell you, Halloween, I want to say Halloween of 24. Well, so last year, I went all out.
It's my daughter's birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday to her. I went all out. I'm talking lasers, smoke machines, like just full lighting. I got a little cherry pie computer to program it all, run through my Steam Deck. And I start the show, and I had a couple of really good streams, like really, really good streams leading up to this. And I had promoted this pretty heavy. And I start the show, and just in a black room, and I just kind of appear out of nowhere. And it's just this whole thing that I practiced and rehearsed, as we do. Don't let anyone lie to you and think they're just naturally gifted.
Of course.
I mean, obviously, I'm
all good content is rehearsed.
Yeah, I'm naturally beautiful, but that's a different topic. And I get through this whole 5-minute, I can't even call it a set, but I get through this whole 5-minute introduction into this new streaming setup I have with lasers and all this interactive chat. The amount of time I spent on Lumia setting this stuff up, I had to run bots through because at the time there was no API. I had to run the bots through my Twitter, so the commands would, not Twitter, through my Twitch. So the commands would go into my Kick chat. It would prompt a bot to then put the command into my Twitch chat to then make the light show happen. Right. So it was not a low effort situation. And we're Kick streamers, we're going to talk about that in like another 5 years. And they're going to be like, you had to do what? I'm like, yeah. So, and then I look down and nothing. There's 2 people there. And nothing. Not a chat, not a chatter. And like, I'm like, okay, I can get over that. Let's get into my regular stream. 30 minutes in, nothing. Like 3 people. I'm grateful for those 3 people. But about 45 minutes in, I didn't say bye. I didn't say anything. I just hit stop. I just hit stop streaming. And I never, ever put that, like I disassembled that entire setup and didn't stream for like 2 weeks. And I know that sounds super like wuss, like don't be a bitch, bro. But I'd never put so much effort into it until that moment.
Yeah.
And from that point forward is kind of where stuff really started to just, started to fall, if that makes any sense. So yeah, it's tough. It's just tough to swallow, I guess.
Yeah. I totally get that, dude. Like
well, you do it. You put the production together every day. So
yeah. And that was the thing is like, I used to like I think my production used to be maybe the quality of the content wasn't as good, but I think the production value used to be more. A lot of like my longtime viewers would probably agree. Like, there's things that they used to like that I did a lot, and becoming a full-time VTuber now, it's like, I'm more limited on what I can do, but I think it forces me to kind of pigeonhole myself into this aspect of like cartoon world of like being a little bit more creative. But it's like, how do you understand that, like, as a person, right? Like that even though like not that many people showed up, right? Like, how do you know, like, how do you realize yourself that like that content that you created is unique, is interesting, is something that only you could come up with, because that's the thing that I always like to tell people is like, you're only creative as much as you let yourself be, and your ideas are the only things that you can come up with in your own way. Like I could do the same Shadon stream, Halloween stream, right? But it would be completely different than what you came up with. You know what I mean? Even if I saw your stream and I was like, I'm gonna do exactly this, it would be very different than yours at the end of the day.
And I was just being candid about it because I mean, I don't mind being candid about stuff like that. It's like, it's a tough pill to swallow. But you're right. Like, I should have been proud of what I was doing in that moment. But it goes into like a deeper thing that I think I struggle with is we can touch on music in a second, but just stopping something when I lose momentum, right? I don't do this in life a lot. Like I'm doing really well in business and I keep pushing forward. But a good example would be music. Like I played a lot of music, especially through high school.
I didn't
played
know
in
you play music.
I do. Yeah, I have two Gretsch sets. I have a Gretsch Energy and a Gretsch. I play easy music. I'm a drummer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
That's the ongoing joke. But I have a Gretsch Energy and I have a Gretsch Maple set, and I also have a Yamaha 800 XD full electric set, right? And I can't bring myself to stream that content because I go through and I watch other drummers, right? And they're better than me. They're more talented than me. They're this, and I just hit this roadblock of like, okay, why are you you're a 32-year-old man. You're successful in life. You have a family, you have a home, you have all these things. You're comfortable. You're able to stream, just privilege after privilege after privilege. Why do you care? You know, and I battle with that with everything. So role play, with music, with anything that I do, for whatever reason, when I hit when I lose momentum, it really breaks me sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm being candid about that as well, because I haven't quite figured that out. So anyone who's 32 and says they have it figured out, I don't believe them. They may have that figured out, but they don't have all of it figured out, because that part of it I can't figure out. Like I can't get through that a lot of times, right? So
yeah, like where are you going to be? Like it's such a like, how do you get out of your head on that stuff? You know what I mean? And I totally get it, because like I can go to sleep thinking like I had a great stream, and I can wake up the next day and being like, damn dude, it sucks, like I'm not where I want to be. And I think it's hard to like interpret that for each person, because I think everybody's different. Everybody has kind of their own opinion about that, where they want to be. You know, they have their own mental stuff they deal with, their own work. Like I personally, like I hate my job, you know what I mean? Like I would love to do this stuff full time, because I honestly, there's nothing else that I could see myself doing for the rest of my life other than creating cool cartoon shit, you know what I mean? Like I like doing it, like I want to do it. But like I have to as a father and a husband, like I have to provide for my family. Like I have to go to work, and I can't rely on my subs, you know what I mean?
no, and that, I mean that's a good topic too, but that's the thing, is I could see myself doing this. The problem is the ebbs and flows, right?
Yeah.
There's moments where I can stream once or twice a week and make YouTube video after YouTube video and have a great time. And then there's moments where I want to stream 5 times a week and don't want to make a YouTube video at all. Right? And consistency is key. It goes back to the scheduling thing and being prepared. Being consistent was one of my high notes when I was averaging, and I call this success. So just for anyone listening in chat, this is success for me. When I was averaging 35 to 40 viewers, I always acquainted it to consistency. I was consistently there at the same time, 4 days a week, every week for months. I know now that consistency was, I'm not gonna say it was irrelevant. It may have been a winner for 4 or 5 of those viewers, but it wasn't everything. And but it is very important to be consistent, and that's kind of the other struggle that kind of goes along with the ebbs and flows and the momentum is consistency can burn you out very quickly. You can lose the spark very quickly. And like you said, you've got to provide for your family. I enjoy what I do outside of streaming.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of opportunity to create my own schedule. I have a lot of opportunity to get things done during the day that I need to do, without, I'm not stuck in one place all the time. So I enjoy it, but the sub thing, right? I want to say the best month I've ever had, and I don't mind sharing this kind of stuff, but the best month I ever had, I think I made like a little over $4,000 on Kick.
That's amazing.
It's
congratulations.
It's absolutely amazing. I was that paid for Christmas, right? For my kids, right?
And before you continue, most, like I will say probably like 98% of streamers out there do not ever see that in a month. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I was great. Well, and I was ungrateful. Let me put this way: I was grateful then when that happened, because that was just last year. But prior to that, I was extremely ungrateful. And then I'll get to what's going on now versus that. For the entire year of 2024, there was never a month that I didn't make at least $500 on subs, right? But this is a warning to any streamer who is listening. since February, I have made no less than $7 to $20 on Kick.
Dude, I feel you 100%. I'm in the same exact boat.
So early success can really, and sorry about the language, I ain't even going to use it better. It can really mess you up. It can mess you up. Like having early success and assuming that this is what it's going to be like will really burn you when the reality finally sets in. When reality comes and slaps you right in the face and says, "Hey, that whole year of success you just had, that is not what it's actually like." And then you get about 6 months of what it's actually like, and you realize, oh,
yeah,
I was ungrateful. I didn't value those people who were supporting me. I didn't give them, enough of what they were wanting, or you just go through your head and you're like, what did I do wrong? Why aren't they here anymore? And then the other half of it is sometimes you give people too much of you, right? Mm-hmm. You give too many people access, and that's an ADD moment I'm having right now. But
no, you're good.
That burned a lot of creativity too. Was I given a lot of people really close access to me in Discord and in my life, and they stopped being viewers and started being what I thought were friends. And the truth eventually comes out that they're just there because you're having success.
Yeah.
And they want to be a part of that. And then once the success dies down, they're not there anymore. And and they're not even a viewer anymore, right? The biggest lesson I ever had was my top donator. And he just always wanted to play games with me. Always wanted to play. And every night he'd donate $40 or $50 for like 2 weeks straight. And I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. And I finally gave in, and I was like, sure, hop in the Discord, we'll play games. I never, and this sounds greedy, but it's just kind of it plays into it. I never got another donation from that man ever again. Right. And I'm not saying that I should have. I'm just saying it's kind of a real simple way to explain the challenge of giving people what they want and also not giving them too much of you, because both of those things can really harm you in this space.
I totally get it, man. I totally get it. Some of my best months, I think my best month I made maybe like $1,200, $1,300. I think that was my best month on streaming. I got really lucky because I got kick picks, and then like a week later I got gifted subs from Eddie. And then I think the next month I got Drake subs. So like
that's amazing.
it was like one thing after another led to another, you know what I mean? And I was like, I could do this, I can make the money. But I think back on that content and I'm like, did I deserve that money? You know what I mean? And like even the people who donate to me, like, you know, I think like I'm very fortunate that like, and like I never expect anything from anybody, but like the people who have donated to me, they don't donate to me as much anymore, and that's not a dig at them, because like I understand, like you are a person, you have your own life, you have your own finances, you have your everything, you know what I mean? Everybody goes through different things, but they still show up to stream, and like I appreciate that more, the fact that they show up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, and I'll kind of get into that too, is like, and I also got kick picks as well, and so January was a killer month. They put me on the front page every stream for like 7 streams. But what was I doing? Right? Like, what was I doing something to bring more people to me? And I don't think I was. I just was playing DayZ. And I regret that to an extent. Like, why couldn't I have done something to show people who I am? Why couldn't I have done something that was more entertaining? Because that was a killer week. That was a killer month, right? Kick picks was fun. I know a lot of the views are embedded on the front page, but it was still fun, and it's a great feeling to have, and all your friends are congratulating you, and you got extra money in your pocket, and you're doing all these things, but those people don't always show back up, right? And like you said, everyone has their own situation. I'm beyond grateful for everyone who's ever supported me. And like I said, before I was successful IRL, I mean, I went through a big transition while I was streaming back in 2023. Like, my streams paid for my children's Christmas in 2023 and in 2024, right? Because we didn't have a lot of extra money. And I've just recently found more success where we do. But no one, the people who subbed to me and donated and gifted, they will never know how grateful I am about that.
Yeah.
Right. Being able to give your kids more than you've ever been able to give them before because of other people's generosity is insane. And what's even worse as a streamer is to give up on streaming to those people because you're not getting the money anymore. And that's been kind of the battle I've been having is like, if I've been telling myself, if I was getting subs right now, would I be going live more? Right. And when I answered that honestly, I was like, I need to go live. Like, because I didn't go live for 3 weeks. And I was like, if I was getting subs, the last stream, if I got 2 subs, would I went live? And I told myself yes. So then I just kind of had to challenge myself. I'm like, listen, you've got to go live even without subs, because you're doing a disservice to the people who did sub to you when you don't show up.
Yeah.
Right. And then you don't have any chance of getting subs because you're not live. Right. So.
But like then it comes back to the question of like, what are you doing to provide content for the people that stream, right? Like where's your, like, what's your plan? You know what I mean? To satisfy the people that do want to watch you.
I mean, I agree with that. Like it's tough. And then it comes down to where you're streaming as well. Right. We talked a lot about Kick, and Kick is such a creator heavy space. And I use that term creator pretty loosely, but it's very creator heavy. Like even in my chat now, and I'm grateful for them to be there. There's creators there. Right. And I really hope that they're doing well, and I do support them as well, especially the ones who are really close to me. But what are you doing as a streamer to get your content out there? And that's where YouTube played a big role in revitalizing a lot of my energy and creativity the last few months. Was if I put something out there and I'm not interacting with them directly and they still watch it, right? Then those aren't creators. Like, those are people who are genuinely consuming content. So where you put your content is just as important. And I think you mentioned earlier that you have kind of I think you just multi-stream, right, to a lot of places. So you're putting your content everywhere you can, and it probably serves you pretty well to do that. As a smaller streamer, I've seen it split a lot of my viewers, and that's a challenge. But I've also seen it grow. Like, I did the TikTok for a while, and some streams I'd have 200-300 people in there.
Yeah. Well, TikTok kind of lulls you in that false sense of like security, like everybody there is like really watching you, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, that's the same thing about the front page, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all embedded views. Like, if you get, and this isn't news to anybody. I hope it's not news to anybody. But if you're on the front page of Kick, and even Twitch, like, most of those people are just embedded views of people who are on the front page of Kick. So they're not all watching you, and I don't want that to hurt your feelings, but it's the truth, right? It doesn't mean you shouldn't be grateful for being there, because that is exposure. That is exposure that people will click on, and you might get trolls. Most of the time you get trolls, but you know how it is.
Yeah,
TikTok
I haven't been featured on the front page maybe like 3 months.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny January. Because like I think like I've been putting in like a lot of work on the stream, and I think it's some of the best content that I've put out. And it's just crazy that it doesn't get front page, but who am I to say, you know what I mean? Of like what should be featured and what shouldn't. Yeah. But I did put in for a front page thing, so we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I'm not glazing you, but you're like, most of your stuff is fucking hilarious. And maybe it's just maybe it's my sense of humor, and maybe and I've always had an odd sense of humor compared to a lot of people. But you know, you're right up my alley. Now I know there's at least 10, 20, 30,000 people who have a similar sense of humor as me, because there's content out there that I consume and I find hilarious. So that means there is an audience for it. I think maybe in your case, like I said on Twitter, I'm not sure how you're not the #1 VTuber. I can't watch other VTubers. Like, I mean, I love a lot of them. They're sweet. Like, they're really sweet and kind people. Like, I freaking I can sit and watch a few of them, but they're like, genuinely speaking, it's not really my cup of tea.
That's why here at the Chef Buggrub channel, we have formed the VTuber Gooning Reformation Society. If you or a loved one has been personally affected by big baboing VTubers, you can come to the Chef Buggrub channel and you can come be here and be a normal person. We will beat those dark, twisted thoughts right out of you. That's my pitch.
No, I love it. I love it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with VTubers at all. I just
my problem with VTubers is I think that it's a very cool outlet. That's like, as somebody that really loves cartoons and wanted to get into cartoons and like doing it, I think cartoons, the problem with cartoons, right, is that they take a long time to create. They take a long time to create, and it's hard to make them, and it's hard a lot of time. Whereas with this show, like, I can kind of create a cartoon every episode and create something that like is fun to watch every episode, and you kind of get the whole package in that episode. But my problem with VTubers is like I'm not an anime guy, dude. Like, I don't watch anime. I don't. Like, not that I don't appreciate Japanese art, but like, it doesn't interest me, and like, they're all anime, you know. So like, where's the content for me? Where am I gonna find somebody that like likes the same shit I do? Like, I love the idea of VTubing. I would totally watch a VTuber if there was somebody that existed that was like me. I would watch them, because like, that's the kind of stuff I like. But like, I can't just sit there and watch an anime guy, you know what I mean?
No, I mean, I agree. I was never an anime person. But in your cartoons, man, you have side characters, you have stories that are going on that are if you're not there, you don't know, right?
Yeah, we got Ivan in the hot tub with us.
Yeah, I know. And you know, he's looking pretty chill right now.
Yeah,
but
he's chilling.
A lot of people don't have that in them. And that's why I said earlier, I'm creative adjacent, right? I'll have these moments where I just have a spark of genius, and I will think I'm just God tier, and then I run into someone like you or some of these other creative streamers and content creators, and you're like, oh, well, you know, I was almost there, but you know, I hadn't quite done that. Like, writing a story. I mean, the last time I wrote a story was probably 10 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a shame, but you know, it comes down to providing for your family. It comes down to time and how you manage your time, and how much of your brain power can you put towards that, right? How do you relax? How do you express yourself outwardly? And that's the other challenge is, how do you want to be seen online versus how do you want to express yourself? If those two things don't match up, it doesn't.
You know what it is, dude? I think a lot of it comes down to time management for a lot of people. I've developed kind of systems that work for me, and they will only work for me. You know what I mean? Like, when it comes to like editing clips, like being able to edit clips at work, becoming capable of like finding the time in work to like, you know, do something on CapCut on my phone or something. You know what I mean? And like, just trying to be consistent with it, where like, even if like the video sucks, like, it may not be the best thing ever, but I can you know, make it. I could put it out there, and you know, kind of test those waters. What? I'm sorry.
Oh, I said I've made some pretty sucky ones myself. I can tell you.
Yeah, we all have that. That's part of it. You know what I mean? That's part of the growing. That's part of the journey. I think like the biggest thing, this is just me personally, but like, I think like, when it comes to consistency, is time management, figuring out what works for you when it works for you. If you can do a stream 2 days a week, just do the stream 2 days a week. And if you can focus on making stuff the other days, focus on making stuff the other days. It's hard to like try to do everything at once. It's like that Bo Burnham song, you know, everything all of the time, you know, from yeah. You know, it's like you're trying to do all of the stuff all of the time, and you're just not capable, because like you are the producer, you are the actor, you are the social media guy, you're all of that stuff, and it's like you got to be able to manage all of it while still maintaining a healthy life, you know. And that's something I wanted to ask you too, because you're a father. How many kids you have?
I have two
And
kids.
you're married?
I am married, yes.
Yeah. So how has streaming like affected your relationship with your family, like in any way?
So early on, it was okay. I mean, it was pretty simple. My wife worked during the day. I worked during the day. So it was really easy to manage in the evenings and things like that. More recently, she's a dispatcher, so she does police dispatch, and she works night shifts now, which is to the benefit of our family, because we need someone here when our kids get off the school bus and things like that during the day. And balancing that has been a challenge. Early on, it was really easy. You know, we managed to make it to church. We managed to work, and I had time. But a lot of that was that I thought was easy was neglecting her. Right.
Let me ask you
So
real quick. You said you go to church? Are you a worship drummer? Have you ever played worship drums?
I did a little bit of. I never done a service, a full Sunday service.
Okay.
No. I was working towards that, and there was about 3 guys ahead of me, and we kind of got real busy with life, and
Yeah.
unfortunately haven't been as frequent in church as we should have been, or should be. Right. Worship drumming is some of the most fun.
I only
drumming
ask because
you can do.
I play on a worship team. I play like every other week.
Do you? Yeah.
I used to
So,
play
and
every week.
Okay.
I used to be a worship
And
leader,
it's been
actually.
fun, so
Couldn't,
did you?
Like, yeah, I used to be the whole worship leader for my old church, and pretty much like, you know, not controlled, but like, you know, set up the services and things like that
create
for the
set
music and
list,
things like that.
Yeah.
But,
No, yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry,
and I was
continue what
working
you're
towards
saying.
that,
I was just
but-
curious about that.
No, you're good. I mean, a lot of that. It's been fun to see some of those guys. I was, you know, they would do lessons for church members every Tuesday, and it was a lot of fun seeing those guys kind of make it on stage to relieve the long-standing drummer that was there. And same with any position there. They constantly were training new people in the church to kind of be a part of the service, so that some people can have time off. It's tough if you're the same guy, you're same one every weekend, right?
Oh yeah, trust me, I know.
Yeah. So no, I never. I mean, I did play worship drums in service when I was in high school for the youth service, a couple of nights. But as an adult, no, I've never been on the big stage.
Gotcha.
If that's what you're asking, I did play a summer sideshow. I don't know if you know what that is. Back in 2006.
No, I don't know what that
when I
is.
was in middle school. It was like a multi-stage concert that our local community put on. It's pretty.
Okay.
But anyway, no, with the family, like a lot of what I thought was going easy was neglect, right? I was neglecting my wife, and she was having to do everything. And now she doesn't neglect me, but now the tables have kind of turned where I have to make sure they eat dinner. My kids, I have to make sure they bathe and that they're ready for bed before I can even hit go live, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, if you ever catch a stream, you'll see my youngest just asleep on the chair behind me, because he's only 5 and he sometimes struggles going to bed. So balance is necessary, and the family comes first above everything else. So if there's a time where I have to hit stop streaming and not hit go live again for another 3 months to get things straight, I mean, that's what I'll have to do.
Yeah.
So, and that's a tough one too, because I don't know if you ever deal with it, but I'll be itching to go live and also itching to not go live at the same time.
No, I deal with that a lot,
mean,
and that's like, and I set my schedule like I'm only streaming like 3 days a week, because like on the off days, like I'll have band practice because I play in a band outside of church, and like I'll
Good band too, right?
yeah, I think so, but hey, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
but the you know, like I'll be like, oh dude, like there's no band practice today, it's Tuesday, like I could definitely go live, right? But like thinking about it now, I'm like, I'm better off sitting there maybe focusing on something like making a TikTok video, or making a something for my stream, than going live. You know, maybe I spend that time watching some other people, getting some ideas from those people and stuff.
Yeah. Well, how do you get the confidence to, like, especially short form? Like, short form can be really easy or really complicated depending on what you're making. But how do you get the confidence, or how do you feel good about what you're putting out? Like, in a sense, let's say your clips aren't on their own funny, and they're gonna need some editing to, or they're not on their own interesting, but they're gonna need some editing to make them interesting. Where do you find the motivation and the confidence to know that your timing and your cadence of that content is gonna be something that your audience enjoys? Because it is. I mean, I'll tell you, I
Well,
watch your videos, and their cadence and your timing is on point.
I
And
appreciate
that's
that.
where my confidence falls there a lot, because I'm not sure, right?
I think the thing is that you need to like separate like your audience on your streams from your audience that may be able to view something on TikTok, because like, you know, the like you may be able to get some good clips, right? But like, are they clips that are going to do good on TikTok? You know, like that's the question you have to ask yourself. Like, is it almost worth it sometimes to like not go live? That like, if you think like that idea is really good, right? Like, is it almost worth it to not go live that day and maybe just spend the 2 hours maybe recreating that scene but doing it better? You know, maybe thinking about the format of like how you want to structure it, you know, because like with TikTok and like YouTube shorts, like you need a good hook and you need a good story to kind of like, and you need a good like execution of doing it. Like you need like good acting or presence to portray that you're selling that, right? And I think that's a big problem a lot of people have when it comes to like short form content, is because everybody hears like short form content's the king, post your short form videos, but like is your stream that is a 4-hour stream, you know, and you caught this 1 second out of it, is that going to be good for TikTok? Like, where is the hook on it? Like, what's going to keep the person wanting to watch it past that 2 seconds? Because on average you got like seven seconds maybe.
Yeah.
And that's
Well, sometimes
that's on a
cutting it
good
short
day,
is the key.
you know.
Yeah.
It's very tough, and like I've struggled with it a lot. And like I'm not ashamed to say like I've promoted TikToks, you know what I mean? Like I've done that. Like if I think like even the video I posted today, like I thought that was a really good video. It was averaging or like at around like 1,000 views, which is great. But I'm like, you know, this is a good video. I'm gonna promote it because I feel like this is a good video, you know. And I think that's the thing too, is a lot of people like they don't think like, is this a good video worth promoting? You know, they just throw money at it in hopes to fixing the problem of their poopy content. You kind of got to think like a viewer, you know. You got to think about like when you're watching stuff on TikTok, like what is the stuff you're watching, you know? Like,
Well,
are
do you see success with that? I'm just asking for,
with what?
With like promoting. So because I don't know if you've ever looked at my TikTok. I don't put a lot of stuff on TikTok. I haven't put some on TikTok in probably months. But do you see any organic growth out of promoting a TikTok?
It's weird because like funneling, like you're approaching different audiences, right? Like the people that want to watch live streams are going to watch the live streams. The people that want to watch short form content are going to you know, do the short form content. It's hard to like bridge that gap and to like funnel people to the lives, especially on a platform like Kick. And that's why I multi-stream, because I tell people, a lot of people, they like, you know, TikTok's great, right? Like multi-streaming on TikTok's great because like you're constantly fed this loop of like people coming in and out of your streams, and they might like it, they might not like it, whatever. But if you like, you have people that show up time and time again on that TikTok, how are you going to get them to go to the Twitch? You probably won't get them to go to the Twitch because they want to watch you on TikTok, because they're watching you on their phones. And if they can have a full viewer experience on their phones, why are they going to go to Twitch where it's a laggy app or whatever? Or why are they going to go to Kick? You know, they already don't get ads on TikTok, so why are they going to go? Like, what is the reason for going to Kick?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know what Kick is. or they have a bad rep
No.
of Kick. So that's why it's like it's weary for me to like try to funnel people to Kick. I personally don't think it works. I think some people it might work. I think it depends on the content you do. I think a lot of people they'll do like, you know, like, oh, I'm playing Rocket League and I'm playing with viewers, but you gotta view me on Kick or something. You know what I mean? Like that works, but like it's against the TOS to funnel people. You know what I mean? On
the
TikTok.
only time I've ever seen funneling work was from Facebook, and that was early on.
Yeah.
I would do like a short 20 minutes on Facebook when I was coming over to Kick, and I would say, hey, and I think that was just people would come check out Kick and realize how much better it was than Facebook. Facebook's just a terrible streaming experience, like as a viewer. And
yeah,
I know that
well,
sounds,
you know,
Kick
Kick has completely, they've copied Twitch's format completely.
Yeah.
You know,
and have you ever done vertical YouTube streams?
I've done vertical YouTube streams. I think vertical YouTube streams are good. I think it also, again, it depends on, here's the thing is like, in my opinion, it doesn't matter if you multi-stream or if you don't multi-stream. I think it matters of like, what are you providing for the people to want to come watch your stream? You know, like what is the entertainment value that you're bringing them? You know, at least with like my show, like I try to provide like humor, entertainment, goofiness, you know, fun visuals of like cartoons and things like that. Like that's the product, right? Is like I'm providing I try to approach it in the sense of like Saturday morning cartoons with Friday night late night. You know what I mean? Like that mixture of like bringing both of those worlds together to provide a show that people can tune into and like enjoy. With some gameplay mixed in, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to not focus on gameplay because I feel like gameplay is like that's where a lot of people sit there and they like they lose a lot of their interest in the people is they just sit there, they lock in on a game and like that's the game and like that's the stream is they're just gaming.
Yeah, and they're not entertaining their chat or communicating with their chat. And that's where that brings us kind of full circle back to role play is a crutch, right?
Yeah.
If I'm feeling down and I only have 7 or 4 or 3 people watching me play a game that I really wanted to play. Like let's say I was doing a playthrough of a game that I really wanted to play and I thought I'd share it with my community and there's 3 people or 2 people or whatever, right? And I'm feeling down about it. Like it's very hard not to kind of look up and go, all right, well, let's go do some role play, right? Yeah. Because that brings more people over. And that's kind of where, when I talked earlier before our conversation here, I had mentioned kind of intentionally losing numbers, right? There was a lot of intent going into 2025 of me saying, I'm going to do what I want to do. And it'll kind of funnel the people who really are interested in watching me in. And that's a flawed, by the way, just that is a flawed thing to do. But it was kind of the attitude I went into 2025 with. It was like, I'm going to play the games I want to play. And again, early success can be your demise. I did that. I land kick picks. I'm playing DayZ because I want to play it. I'm averaging crazy viewers. I'm getting crazy donations. I'm like, look at that. I'm doing what I want to do and I'm successful. Well, again, it's the same cycle. All of that goes away like very, very quickly. And you realize, oh, these were outside factors that were influencing my success. This was not me. This was not this was not my pure genius of entertainment that was doing this, So, and that's another struggle I have with Kick is this false sense of success that they give a lot of people.
Well, and that's one of the things that like even if I got partnered tomorrow, right? I would take the 50% pay cut and I would still multi-stream, because I feel like it's important to grow the brand anywhere you can, right? But what was I gonna say? I totally just lost my thought.
We were talking about Kick and the flawed sense of success that they give a lot of streamers is what I said.
Yeah, it was something about Kick, but I can't remember. Let's just let me ask you a couple questions. So sure. This is something I like to ask everybody, that comes onto the podcast because I feel like it's important because it's probably not talked about enough, and I think a lot of people have different opinions about it. But if you were like, if somebody came up to you and they were a brand new streamer, what do you think that they should do?
Like, are they coming to me in person or in my stream?
Whatever, doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, those are
Like
two
what?
different
Like
things.
well, okay, so like it doesn't matter if the person's a personal friend of yours or whatever. Somebody like in general, like what would be the advice that you would give to somebody that's new to streaming?
I'd tell them just not to quit, and I would tell them not to judge, and I would tell them to do everything that you think is necessary to get to make your content better. If you're whether you're like me, you're a gear geek, right? Like you want the best, you want the $1,000 Sony camera, you want the SM7B, you want 5 monitor, whatever, right? If you think that it's necessary, do it. Like, don't regret making a change that you think will elevate you. But also don't be disappointed when it doesn't elevate you. Those would be some things that I'd tell people, and take advantage of every opportunity. Like, unless it breaks your moral compass, don't look at something in a manner of like, ugh, like, oh, that's gross, I don't want to do that. Like, you don't know what that opportunity can lead to. A great example is a phone call. I'm a contractor, and I call another contractor, and they say, you know, and I'm like, hey, you know, you're 3 days late on this job. What's going on? And they immediately get defensive and start just kind of wailing on me, right? Well, a month from now, I land a job with a school. There's $1 million contract on the line, and I need a guy that does what he does, right? What do you think the chances are? Yeah. What do you think the chances are that I'm calling that guy to do that job?
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty low because of that one phone call. The same thing goes for that stream. When you're on Twitter and you see someone complaining about what someone else is doing, maybe it's the same gripe you have. Like, you're frustrated about this too. I would just tell them to not engage in it, because you don't know the people on the other side of that, and you don't know how those people could help you later on down the road. I'm not saying you need to look at everybody as a stepping stone. I'm just saying that opportunities don't continue to come, especially if you've been in a space for a very long time. If someone sees your name every night for 3 years and you're always at the same amount of viewers and you're always doing the same thing, opportunities will eventually stop, right?
Yeah.
So take the opportunities, even if you're scared, even if you don't want to do it. Like, do the pitch kick something, right? Try to get on a front page program. I mean, even if you're uncomfortable with it, I mean, just go out and do it anyway, because you just don't know, right? Because that's one of the biggest things is having your nose up or being snooty about something. Like, oh, I don't need that. I don't want to do that. I don't, that's not me, right? Don't do that as a streamer. You don't know what you are until you're there, right? And that's kind of, I guess that would be the advice that I would give somebody. They wouldn't understand half of it, but maybe they'd recollect it later.
Do you think so do you think that like streaming is a good avenue for that person to go down? Not saying anything on that person's character or like their work ethic or anything like that. Like, do you think in general like streaming is a good avenue for people to go down?
Well, I mean, it depends. Are they wanting to be content creators or are they wanting to be a streamer? Right? If you want to be a content creator, no. If you want to make content, don't stream.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the simplest answer I can tell you. If you want to make great content, also don't stream. And I know that's probably pretty controversial to say, but streaming will stifle your content creativity, especially when you have the input of several other people in your chat, right? It's great to have interaction. It's so much fun to talk to them, but that stuff lives in your head rent free. The conversations you have, the different ideas that go on while you're streaming, because you're streaming for 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, right? A lot of stuff goes on in that time, right? Especially if you're semi ADD, your mind can have 800 different ideas and you can't execute it because you're entertaining an audience, right? So if you want to create content, watch other creators and create content, but don't stream. If you want to be a streamer, then absolutely shoot for the moon, right?
Do you think the days of going viral like organically are over for people that do like what we do specifically?
No. No, I don't think so. I think that IRL is going to be more viral for now.
You think IRL is the way?
No, I don't think long term it's the way. People will get fatigue, as they have with gaming content. People will get fatigued with it. You can live your own life just like you can play your own games. So people will they'll get fatigued with IRL, and it'll go back to they want to vibe, so they're gonna go vibe in a vibe stream. Then they'll go, I want to watch people play games, and they'll go watch people play games. Like, and you can't have one thing without the other. Going back to your last question, is you can make content and not be a streamer, but you can't stream and not be a content creator, right? Because you've got to create content to get people to your stream.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I think you can go viral. I think the circumstances, everybody is so conditioned now, and the world is such a much more vulgar and inappropriate and blunt place that to be viral, you have to go very extreme and very out of your way. And I don't think that's a price that a lot of people are willing to pay. So I guess in that sense, it'd be difficult to go viral for some of us. But if you can let go of shame, if you can let go of the opinions of other people, and go to the extremes that some of these people go to, then absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, look at like the Hottub chick, you know?
Yeah, and then there's accidental viral, right? But she wasn't even a content creator, right? That's just a human being making a comment, right? And then you scam people out of millions of dollars, and kind of falls apart on you.
Yeah.
So,
it's a circle of life.
Yeah, circle of life. That was a true 15 minutes of fame situation, right?
Let me ask you this. Do you think that it's not like a gotcha question, but like, do you think that like you hold views or something like that, like maybe hold you back in any way, or like do you have stances on things that might hold you back, or?
You mean hold me back on a certain platform or viewership?
I maybe hold you back is not a certain way, but do you think that there's certain stances that have maybe hindered you in any way?
I don't think anything's ever hindered me. In fact, I've seen some of the most success on Kick when I was being overtly controversial. I wasn't intentionally being controversial, but I have a lot of controversial views, right?
Yeah.
Especially on the Middle East, stuff based on my religion. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate and enjoy certain types of people. It's just those are views that I do agree with, right? But no, I don't think anything's particularly held me back. Could it have? Probably. If the right people were in the chat or something, and maybe I may have missed opportunity here or there, but it was never anything I was aware of. It was never anything. I was never aware of losing an opportunity based on my opinions.
Now, do you think that having certain views and things like that maybe sort of affect your mental of like, maybe I'm not supposed to be here, or I'm not supposed to be doing it this way, or something like that? Because that's how I feel sometimes. So that's why I'm like asking.
Well, I guess I kind of have to understand your question a little bit better.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but like your worldview, your ideas of life, you know, your religion, your
like,
faith.
do you ever feel like I'm in the wrong place? Like,
yeah.
No, I mean, I don't. There's nothing that I wouldn't say right here, right now, if you ask me like a straightforward question. So no, I'm not in the wrong place. If and I never felt that I can't just speak my mind. Will I lose in that situation? Could I be someone that people no longer like? Probably. But I don't think that I'm in the wrong place or anything like that. I guess, can you ask the question again? Because there was a point that I kind of felt you were trying to get to. That,
like, the question I have written down is, and I don't think this applies, But it's how do you find your place in the world when you know so many people are against what you believe and stand for? I think is the question.
Well, I mean, I guess the question would be, is there a place for me? And when I look at the extremes on both ends of my opinions, right? The extremes on the side that I agree with and the extremes on the other side of it, both have very successful figureheads, right? It's like, let's just take Hassan Asabi and Asmongold, right?
Yeah.
Which I think Asmongold's probably more middle of the road than we think he is, but he spits certain views. Like, those people exist in the same world, which means I can exist in that world, right? So it doesn't bother me to openly tell my opinion, and even to, like, here's the thing: my opinion doesn't affect how I treat human beings, and I think that's where a lot of people get this stuff twisted. They think that because you hold an opinion, you're going to treat someone differently. Because, like, especially when it comes to the Middle East, like, if I disagree with one side or the other, people are like, oh, so you don't care about them, or you don't like them, and, like, or like if I disagree with a certain religion and their compatibility with, Western civilization, that doesn't mean I dislike people who practice that religion. That doesn't mean that I have a problem with people who practice that religion, right? Same thing. And I also don't think that my opinion is important enough that I need to lay that into people, right? Like, I don't think that I hold some type of god tier intelligence that I can just tell everyone this is my opinion and it's right. You know what I mean? I'm open to debate, but at the end of the day, I hold this opinion for reasons that have taken years to come to, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's, I guess so. No, I mean, there's a place for me, and there's a place for anyone who holds opinions like mine or like yours, because we can easily, maybe we might be on the wrong side when we express that opinion. Like, maybe our audience is the opposite of what you agree with, right? And then when you lay it on them, all of a sudden your audience is gone. But there's another audience that does agree with you that will eventually find you if you keep putting your content out there.
Yeah, I think it's no, I agree. I 100% agree with you. I think a lot of people nowadays are too quick to judge somebody's beliefs and opinions and maybe impose them to be this sort of terrible person, which I think is a big problem with society, and a big problem specifically, I think, within the streaming sphere. I mean, we see people getting canceled left and right and this and that. I mean, earlier today, I was talking about, before we started this interview, I was talking about, like, a Catliente post that I saw. You know who Catliente is?
I don't specifically,
She's
but I think I know.
Well, she's a streamer. She does
I know
a lot
the controversy,
of, like,
though.
Yeah, she's a streamer. She does a lot of, tutorials, Twitch tutorials, all that, and it's like I can just see that, like, people are so quick to cancel certain people and this and that, and it's like, here I am covering it, and it's like, how am I, like, affecting the dirtiness of the whole situation? You know what I mean? When I'm just trying to, like, do it for content and stuff, and it's like, at the end of the day, like, I'm just trying to put on a good show, talk about stuff that's interesting, people might like. You know what I mean?
Well, and they wouldn't put it out there unless they intended for it to be out there.
Yeah, that's
right?
true too. That's true too.
So,
100%.
And I mean, and how you affect it, you shouldn't look at it. There's a certain selfishness you have to have, especially if you're covering someone else's problems. But canceling is I don't think that exists anymore in the realm that I operate in.
I think it does. I think it does. I've seen it a lot with the VTuber community lately. There's a VTuber, I don't know her name off the top of my head, but she's facing, like, a real serious canceling campaign. I forget exactly what it is that she said, but, like, the company, like, she was a big pusher of this one game, right? And here's an example of, like, a development company that, like, had no backbone. Like, she was, like, a big reason the game, like, reached somewhat of a success, and they, like, dropped her, and they were like, we don't support her and this and that. And people, like, they're trying, like, Vice articles are being written about her and this and that, and they're trying to get her canceled from gamer subs and all of that, and it's just like this big, like, witch hunt. So I think it does still happen. I think it's unnecessary. I think things like that really cause more discourse in the world than they do help people, like, with their ideas and opinions, getting them across.
Well, I think that what I was saying was it doesn't happen in the sphere that I operate in. Like, so we have to look at the VTuber community as a whole, and a people that come together to cancel people. That's the only power they have, right? And they're trying to wield it. And it is a certain demographic of people, and you can disagree, or the audience can disagree, but it is a certain demographic of people that watch VTubers that are also more likely to try and cancel someone for their views.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I don't operate in that space. Like, no one in my chat is going to be offended if I just say something out of pocket right now,
Yeah.
no one, and if someone is, I just don't care. Right. And I think canceling doesn't work if you just keep going. Right. You look at the Jake Pauls of the world, the Logan Pauls, his brother. You look at the Asmongold. You look at, even on the other side of it, the Destinies and the Hassans. Canceling just doesn't. If you just keep going, and maybe it's different in the VTuber world just because of how relentless they are. But if that person just keeps going, the audience will change probably, but the success will return. It's a cycle. In fact, it has a name, but I'm no dictionary. There's a whole, it's in Revelations, but there's a whole cycle to the heroic. It's called the hero cycle, and you can be a martyr to anybody, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're wrong. I mean, you could be absolutely wrong 100%, lose everything you have because you're canceled. Kanye is a great example of it, and then you come back on a whole different side of the spectrum, and you're gonna start garnering support, right? It's the hero cycle.
The Kanye thing, I think is very interesting, right? Because I
It's a psyop.
it's a psyop, yeah.
His trainer.
Actually,
his
it's
trainer
funny.
was
I
trying
watched
to-
a whole video
his trainer was trying to
the
kill
other
him when
day
he-
about how to identify psyops and stuff, and I thought it was really interesting. I was thinking about a lot of the stuff that's happened in the last couple of years, but the interesting thing, like, I find with Kanye, right, is like, and him releasing his song, is that a lot of people are quick to be like, the people that enjoy this should be jailed, or like, they're celebrating, like they're out there celebrating Hitler, they should be jailed, and this and that. And it's like, well, hold on a minute here, because that pendulum can swing back the other way 100%. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like I think a lot of people in other countries don't understand, like, the idea of, like, how important free speech is in America.
Yeah.
Because I talk to people all over. You know what I mean? That's the one beautiful thing about this streaming space, is I talk to people all over. Everybody has different views and things like that. But how important it is in America of the idea of free speech and absolute free speech, because as soon as you start policing that, and you start policing people's opinions and views and things like that, that's going to cause more problems than it does now for the people just speaking things freely.
Yeah, no, exactly. And he's the first artist in our generation to, and this is not glazing him at all, because the song is a bit much, on a lot of spectrums, but I think,
But that beat goes hard.
it does go hard. And I think the point of it, I don't think the point of it, and people will tell me all the time, man, you think everything's deeper than it really is. Listen, I think the point of it in Kanye's situation is that he is trying to get out of the box and prove that there is one particular group of people that you cannot talk that way about, or you cannot.
Whoa, Shay, we're gonna have to end the interview here. Thank you guys for tuning in the Hot Tub with Chef Buggrub.
I did not say whether I agreed with it or not, because, like, my views vary on this, right? Like, I support, and I'll just talk straight about it. I support Israel over Hamas and the Free Palestine movement, but I also heavily agree that you should be able to be critical of any group of people, and particularly that group of people. If you go back into history, the USS Liberty, 9/11, I mean, all of these things that are directly tied to that group of people, you should be critical of them. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you have to be
hold on,
a terrorist supporter.
Hold on, because This is a great. I'm totally down to talk about this stuff, but
sorry, I didn't mean to get into it. My bad.
No. I'm totally down to talk about this stuff, but I want to keep the podcast
Yes.
sort of centered
Let's do
around the content creation and all of that.
Yes, let's get back to that.
So we
Sorry.
can totally talk about this afterwards, and have that conversation. And
It's okay. I'll let them. I'll let them know. I'll let them know that you're.
I think
steering clear
honestly
of it.
though, like I think right now, I think we've kind of reached the crescendo of the interview here, and we can have a totally like have the conversation after the hot tub. I like to call it the hot tub after
let's
dark.
move back to what we were talking about, because right now you're really playing into this pretty hard. So let's
I'm playing
move.
into it.
Yeah, you're playing into it really hard.
Is my
Actually,
RP good?
yes, you may not be intentionally playing into it, but to shut it down right after I say that is hilarious.
No. And like, here's the thing. I'm not opposed to having the conversation, like at all.
Yeah.
And I'm not opposed to like talking about it live or anything like that. But the thing is that when, like I want these podcasts to be like a sort of a whole package, right?
No,
Of,
and I
like-
don't want to stay on the. I don't want to stay on the topic.
No, you're good. I
so-
just want to like explain this. Like, this is the idea of the podcast, right? Like, I kind of consider it like Joe Rogan of content creation. Like, I want every episode to kind of be a sort of thing that somebody struggling with something or confused about something can go and listen to, right? Like, we talked a lot about RP, so I think like anybody that's struggling with content creation and RP, like this would be a good podcast for them, right?
Yeah.
But like
no, and
afterwards, dude, we can let dude.
Nah,
you'll see
nah,
this hot tub go dark.
Well,
You'll see it go dark, dude. We're turning the lights on in the tub.
Well, let's tighten it up real quick so we can get
Yeah.
to the point and get to the crescendo. So when it comes to controversial views, and what I would tell people in the streaming space and in the creativity space is, if you're not strong-willed enough to take criticism, and even in my case where I'm overly sensitive to a lot of opinions of people, and I'm not sure why I am, but I am. And then some people I just don't give a dang like what their opinion is. I would say not to publicly give those opinions. And the same thing goes back to the Twitter thing we were talking about, not to engage in the drama of, oh, this guy's view-botting, oh, this guy is follow for follow. Like, don't engage in that, because you just don't know who's involved in those communities, right? Like, sometimes it could be someone who can really help you with your mental. They can really help you with your growth. They really could be a great support system for you, and you've criticized them before you knew them, right? Or in some cases, they could be like, murdering sex offenders. So it kind of goes both ways. So just not engaging in those conversations on Twitter will help you go a lot further. I think a good inspiration to that would be, and I'm not a COD streamer, but Sergeant Jackson, right?
Yeah.
Like, the man does not engage in anything outside of his own content and his own community. And that would be my direct advice would be, and this is coming from a not greatly successful streamer, don't engage with anything other than your community and your own content. Stay focused, keep pushing, and I think that you can keep your creative moving, and just find a place that you're comfortable making that content. And to one of your chatters who came in here, I
agree.
Just every clip, they said it, every clip that you put out is just on the road to a better clip, right? Or a better, same thing with videos. Every video you put out is on the road to a better video. So, and then don't be like Chef Buggrub and get influenced by the Zionist. So
Yeah, don't do it. Listen, Shay, do you have anything you want to plug before we call this episode?
Yeah, just check me out on Kick. I play some games sometimes. I talk about stuff sometimes, and then sometimes I don't show up at all. But I'd love to have you there. It's also just follow me on Twitter and YouTube, because those are the two places that I struggle the most to keep people engaged. So.
Yeah, guys, all of his socials will be in the link in the description for this video. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in for episode 4 of In the Hot Tub with Chef Buggrub, featuring Shadon, the beautiful, wonderful Shadon. Look at him, guys. Look at that beard. Great guy. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later. Great, dude. Great conversation. Now, what were you saying about bombs in the Middle East? Hold on. Hold on. Let's. All right, guys, listen. If anybody has any questions for Shay, please put them in the chat.
Yes.
TikTok, I'm going to end the conversation here on TikTok because I think that it's just gonna go a little off the rails. So
yeah, no, I
and
probably
that's
should have
okay.
said that. I forgot you're on TikTok, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're fine, trust me. But TikTok, if you guys want to continue listening to the conversation, please check us out on Twitch and Kick. We're live on both those platforms, so you can come join the conversation. And I ended it. Whoops. I ended it too early.
That happens.